James Gunn's Superman has finally come to theaters, and with that, it is now time to go into full spoilers, and that is what I'm going to be doing here for you guys, diving into the cameos and Easter eggs that you may have missed, and breaking down stuff that I liked and stuff that I didn't like. So kicking things off and just reiterating my thoughts on the movie, I loved it. It was a fantastic film and one of the best of the franchise, easily, and David Cornsweet as Superman was fantastic, and he perfectly embodied the character of Superman. And the action in this movie was very good and entertaining, and along with the set pieces and set design in this movie. So now starting with the beginning of the film and working our way up, the film opens up with a really creative way to jump us right into the DCU. It lets us know that 3 centuries ago, the first meta-human arrived on Earth, and ever since then, there have been a bunch of them. Then the title card continues, and it says that 3 decades ago, a baby from Krypton landed on Earth. Then it says 3 years ago, he revealed himself to the world as the most powerful meta-human. And then 3 months ago, he stopped a war, and now 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first battle. And when the text said 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first battle, I thought that was so cool and chilling. And then we see Superman all bloodied and bruised crash down on his home planet. Then he calls Krypto, who brings him home. This is when Krypto takes Superman to the Fortress of Solitude to get healed up, and this is where we get a little insight on the origins of Superman, where he crash landed on Earth. His pod that held the message from his parents actually got damaged, and so for his whole life he has only been able to hear the first part of their message saying that we love you and sent you on this planet to be humanity's hope and to help them and protect them, but he never found out the rest of the message. And then we find out that he cherishes this message and plays it anytime he is in the Fortress of Solitude because it comforts him. Also, I thought it was really cool to see Bradley Cooper make a cameo in this movie as Jor-El, Superman's biological father. He did a great job in that role for the small amount of time that we got to see him. But here is where I want to mention a negative. The negative is that James Gunn thinks that this Superman movie or this Superman adaptation does not need the backstory that we've gotten so many times before of Kal-El being sent down to Earth, even though this movie's entire story revolved around Superman's backstory. And because of that, this just felt like a sequel to a Superman movie we never saw before. And I also need to mention this plot point and decision. So Lex Luthor, when infiltrating the Fortress of Solitude, he is able to decode the damaged message thanks to one of his assistants. The second half of the message from Superman's parents ended up being rule this planet, repopulate Krypton, and it's like up to you to save our bloodline. And that made it sound like Superman was here to conquer the Earth instead of protecting it. And basically they're saying that Superman's parents are evil, and the way that the city just turns on Superman immediately after hearing this message that Lex Luthor leaked. But throughout this entire movie, after that was revealed, I was like, no, they can't do that. That makes no sense. Lex Luthor hates Superman and is jealous of him. This is just like some type of scheme. This wasn't the second half of the message. No, they never tell us otherwise, so it's up to us to just assume that that was their real message. That was a real message from them, and they really didn't send Superman to Earth to protect it and save it. They sent him to conquer it and repopulate their population and their kind, which is wild. I'm gonna say something wild out loud. They are evil for that, and I never thought I'd be saying that. But yeah, that was a crazy plot point and decision by James Gunn to have that in the movie, but it was still creative nonetheless and made the movie high stake at such an early point. Also, the next scene I want to mention is his little fight with Hammer Bravia. That was a fun little fight, although Superman really wasn't fighting back. Honestly, it's just a big ass metal suit. I don't expect him to really effectively fight back, but yeah, that was an ass whooping that he took in the movie, and it was around like the first time we saw Superman in the movie, so I cherish it, but it wasn't really necessary to see Superman get destroyed for a few more minutes, because at the beginning of the movie we already saw him absolutely destroyed, bleeding and all battered and bruised, so I thought it was unnecessary, but it was still nonetheless a fun scene, and something definitely worth talking about in this review. So then it cuts to the next day, and Superman is at work with his alter ego, Clark Kent, at the Daily Planet with all his friends, Jimmy and his girlfriend, Lois. And honestly, we didn't get much of Clark Kent in this movie, but I didn't mind it because, as you guys know, if you follow my channel and have seen my previous 3 reviews for the first 3 Superman movies, I'm not the biggest fan of just normal Clark Kent. He's fine of a character to see on screen, but I love his alter ego way more, and in this movie you get more Superman than you do of Clark Kent. But yeah, this was a cool scene. I'm glad we got it because we could see the Daily Planet in this movie, and the Daily Planet looks great, and the cinematography of this movie really brings the colors and the beauty of the Daily Planet out perfectly. So then we move on to the apartment scene with Clark and Lois, and Clark is actually impersonating Superman in this situation because he basically allowed Lois to get a interview with Superman, which in this universe, actually in this movie, it's already revealed that Lois knows Clark's alter ego, which is very surprising. But like I said earlier, a complaint was about the fact that it feels like this is a sequel to a movie that we never saw. But moving back to the apartment scene, this was probably the best dialogue scene of the entire movie due to the fact that it starts out with Lois and Clark being like playful and chummy, to then Superman getting mad and agitative at some of the questions that Lois is asking, because all he's trying to do is help people, and Lois just keeps pushing him with all these different questions. And it's a crazy scene, but we know Lois. She puts her job first above all, and it's honestly expected of her, to be honest. She always puts her job first, even in the early Superman movies. She always puts her job first. So the next scene I want to talk about in this movie is Superman when he faces a kaiju that grows over time, and by the time we actually get to the fight scene, it's already fully grown and terrorizing the entire city of Metropolis. And this fight scene is phenomenal. It is great. It is very colorful with a bunch of effects, and the action that is in this scene is phenomenal as well. And also, this is where we're introduced to another team that includes the Green Lantern, and this team is called the Justice Gang, which there's this recurring joke in the movie that, oh, we're not called the Justice Gang. It's so funny, honestly. And these are basically a goofy group of characters. Some you may know from the Peacemaker television show, which, by the way, we'll be talking about a cameo from the Peacemaker show in about a minute. But yeah, they were also in this scene, and it just made it all the more better because I did not know that Superman knew these people and actually teamed up with the Justice Gang. I had no idea, and it is really cool to be seeing all these different cameos, and Green Lantern in this movie was awesome. But yeah, as for Superman versus this kaiju, it was an awesome fight scene. After this awesome fight scene with the kaiju and seeing the Green Lantern and his team, Lex Luthor exposes Superman, or put quotations around exposes, because there's really nothing to expose due to the fact that Superman at any time could have taken over the world and killed everybody, but he decided not to. So I don't know why anybody would believe the bull crap that Lex Luthor pulled with this news article, but it is then revealed like the plans that Superman had, and I say plans with quotation marks as well because he wasn't planning anything. He wasn't gonna do anything, but the public just turns on him as soon as they hear that he's protecting them to like take them over and to get them on his side, which is just not true. But it works, and the public immediately turns on Superman, and Superman is clearly angry, he's distressed, and he goes into this building to get away from everybody, which the Justice Gang follows him in. And Green Lantern in this movie is not a very nice guy at all, because he's like, oh, I don't want to team up with you if like Lex Luthor, whatever he's saying is true. I don't want to team up with you. I don't want anything to do with you. So yeah, what a nice supporter, honestly. But yeah, this leads to a cameo in the movie, and the cameo is Peacemaker himself. He appears in a news report on like a reaction of Superman's alleged plans for Earth, which he badmouths Superman, which no surprise there. The character's not so nice of a guy. But yeah, that was a cool cameo to see in the Superman movie. But yeah, that is basically concluding a phenomenal emotional scene. Just how they so easily turned on Superman the first chance that they got, hearing something that may not even be true. They take something from Lex Luthor of all people. Makes no sense. So now I want to mention another scene that I wasn't so fond on, but overall it was an okay scene. Emotional wise, it was fine, but the scene between Lois Lane and Superman, basically at a room talking to each other after the world basically rejected Superman and gave up on him, it's supposed to be a serious, impactful, sad, or beautiful moment, but it's played off as a joke because you see the other superheroes that we met earlier, you see them fighting a intergalactic imp in the background, and it just is played off as a comedic scene, and it kind of ruins the sadness or the beauty of the scene between Lois and Superman. But this made a lot of Superman fans angry though, and I don't really really understand why. I didn't think much of it, but then I read up on it after the movie, and what this is supposed to be is a character named Mr. Mxyzptlk, which I hope I pronounced that correct, but yeah, that's who this is supposed to be, or at least what's supposed to be similar to him. But yeah, he's from the Superman comics, so that's the backstory you need for that character if you're unaware of what that is or who that is. But yeah, this scene was just played off as a joke because of that, and it's not supposed to be a joke. It's very emotional, but still nonetheless, it was enough of an emotional scene if you don't pay attention to the background. So now I want to talk about Superman's encounter with Lex Luthor, where he is at a military camp after turning himself in, where Superman is put in a box with the character Metamorpho, who can morph into literally anything, and in this movie he morphs into kryptonite, which obviously is Superman's weakness. So this guy's out here freaking dying while Lex Luthor is asking him questions while playing roulette with a person that Superman knows, and Superman's not answering questions, so Lex Luthor pulls the trigger and kills somebody that Superman knows, which is very unfortunate, and my jaw dropped to the ground. Not because of what Lex Luthor did, because honestly, what's surprising there? It's Lex Luthor, but just at the way it happened, how quickly it happened, literally after the second shot it happened, so it was very shocking there. But I just want to give like a quick little opinion for the character of Metamorpho. He is a great character in this movie. He has heart because his child is literally right across from him, and it's just very emotional, especially after the death of that random guy. He starts crying and wants to help Superman, so he creates this electric ball that helps Superman heal, but not for too long. Long enough to get them out of that situation, but not long enough to just take on Lex Luthor as well. But nonetheless, he is a fantastic character as well, and a great addition to the movie and the story. But also, the people who help Superman and Metamorpho escape is Mr. Terrific after taking out all the military while following a track that Superman held, and with him is Lois Lane, which this little subplot with the two of them was really, really well done in the movie. I'm really glad that they teamed up, and I'm really glad we got to see a lot of Mr. Terrific because he is great in this movie. And also, we get the addition of Superdog because Superman also saves Superdog as well. So it was all cool over there. And after that scene ends, we go back to Superman's home farm with his parents, which it's nice to finally see them. We only got to see them once in the entire movie leading up to this, and I'm glad that we got to spend some time with them. And Clark and his Earth father had like a little heart-to-heart moment, and that was beautiful. I'm surprised that he didn't die in this movie, because it has happened in the previous like 2 reboot Superman movies. Like in the first ever Superman movie, Clark's father dies. In the Man of Steel movie, Clark's father dies. In this movie, he doesn't die, which I'm glad they didn't, because that means he could be used for the future and is like a future guiding light for Superman. But yeah, it was just overall nice to see them. And this is when Superman gets all his powers back, and he basically lays low here to heal. But after we leave the farm, it's over. We don't get to see his parents again for the rest of the movie. So now it's time to cover the final battle, with Lex Luthor being as crazy as ever and is willing to literally split the world in half to drag Superman to him. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. But anyway, so his plan basically works. He splits the world in half basically, and it's heading for Metropolis, and it does start to split in half because also Superman needs to somehow deal with the war going on that got re-upped by Lex Luthor, but he decides to go to Metropolis and let the Justice Gang deal with that, which the Justice Gang destroys all those soldiers, and it really makes for an awesome scene there. But back to Superman, all the buildings are splitting. Then there's this little part of the building that Lex Luthor is in that has like a ship, and he just floats over the splitting town, or the splitting city, my bad. But yeah, this was very crazy. And then the fact that Superman just showed up and he started running, like Lex Luthor started running, and then Superman just slammed right into him. It was so funny, like how fast it happened. It was hilarious. And then as he starts to basically crap talk Superman, Krypto comes over here and beats the ever-living crap out of Lex Luthor. And it is a funny scene, and I was definitely laughing in the theater seeing freaking Lex Luthor get his comeuppance and get his ass whooped by a flying dog. It was hilarious. But anyway, then Luthor's ex-girlfriend helps expose Luthor, and it goes all over the news. It's revealed that Superman wasn't so evil after all, and the public starts to love him again. Everything bad gets undone, and Lex Luthor gets taken away, and bada bing bada boom, happy ending. But I need to talk about the fight that happens between Superman and basically his twin, because it was a phenomenal fight. It was a phenomenal fight. It started at the football field, and it escorted to like inside the ground, and it was just cool all the way through this final battle. It was really, really awesome. And the way Krypto freaking started eating the clone Superman too was hilarious as well. And yeah, it just made all for a great final battle. But yeah, now bouncing back to the present in the story, it's over. The movie ends. Happy ending. So now it is time to go into the mid-credit scene, which actually reveals that Superdog, or Krypto, is the dog of Supergirl, and Supergirl is Superman's cousin, and we get to see her. And honestly, this was shocking. I did not expect to see her in this movie, and there are words that apparently say that she's getting her own movie, which I definitely see. I'm interested in that. But it was fun to see her in like a little cameo role. But then yeah, she takes Krypto and leaves, and that's the mid-credit scene. Then the post-credit scene has basically Metropolis fixed, and Superman and Mr. Terrific are arguing about like a building that is slightly uneven, which was hilarious. My family was definitely like, well, that wasn't worth waiting for, but of course, me being the movie guy, I thought it was worth it because it was a funny little back and forth scene. But yeah, that's when the movie ends. So with that now being said, I'm gonna give it the star ranking that I usually give new movies. So let's do it. Starting with action. Action gets easily 5 stars in this movie. It was so action-packed. Every fight scene that you do get is so great. So great. So now moving on to comedy, I'll give a solid 3 stars too. There were some funny dialogue moments, some funny scenes. It wasn't too funny, but I don't want it to be too funny. This is Superman. So yeah. Now drama gets 3.5 stars. You get the action, you get the suspense of what Lex Luthor is planning. You get that urge that you just want to see Luthor fail so bad because of how many bad things he's doing. He kidnapped Krypto. He's kidnapped a bunch of his ex-girlfriends. He's just done a bunch of bad things, and you want him to get his comeuppance. And also, Superman's clone is causing havoc and being a real challenge for Superman, and the public, obviously, their perception of Superman changes, and then that has to be situated, and it gets changed back, thankfully. But yeah, the drama was all over here. And the suspense is 3 stars. There was suspense in all of that. All of that stuff that I just mentioned caused suspense. You don't know, because this is the beginning of James Gunn's DCU. You don't know what's going to happen, if this is going to lead to another sequel or not, so you don't know if the story will conclude or not. It's just, you're at the edge of your seat, so it's great suspense. So overall, this movie does get a 10 out of 10 and a Mr. Movie guarantee. But that is all I have to say about this movie. It was phenomenal from start to finish. A great movie experience. Definitely lived up to the hype. But that has been my spoiler review for Superman. Take care.